Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night podcast, where Navajo legends echo in the shadows. Darren and Dawn will guide you through the sacred fire of native storytelling, where the old stories breathe, the unknown walks among us, and voices, long hidden, rise to be heard. And remember, don't whistle at night.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans. I'm your host, Don Yazzie. With me, my co-host, Darren Yazzie. And if you're joining us after Sean Kelly's Into the Night, welcome from Don and Darren. And thank you, Ry Voss, for that intro. Thank you for that, brother. And here's Darren Yazzie. Everybody, what is up, Darren?
Hey, what's up, guys? We got a new background. We're live in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, one of my best children horror movies. So, as for that, we got another treat for all y'all. This is one I'm really looking forward to. Again, just like all the shows, people that we have on. This one comes from Hawaii, so the islands. So I'm really excited. I got a lot of questions. We had a brief conversation at the beginning, but legit, man, I'm excited about this one. We got ghosts. We got a ghost story. We got ghost stories, I think. So, it's been a while. So.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Let's get the show rolling, shall we? Let's welcome in Simeon R. What is up, brother? How's it going?
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Aloha.
For real. So,
How you guys doing?
Oh, not too bad, man. How about you?
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm really excited, man. I'm excited to hear the stories that you have, and yeah, legit. Let's do it.
I've had a couple experiences. I've had some experiences in Hawaii. That's probably a good place to start. And then I've had a lot of experiences in California and Washington Coast
hey,
as
Simeon.
well.
Hey, Simeon, why not? Let's start all the way back from the beginning, and then you can work your way to the present, if you don't mind.
Yeah. The very beginning supernatural experience I had was, that's an interesting question, and that got me thinking. The experiences that I usually talk about are from when I was an adult. But when I was a kid and I was about 7 or 8 years old, I remember sleeping on the couch and waking up and seeing someone standing there. And I think that was my very first ghost experience, is seeing, to me, it looked like a kid, but it was there and it wasn't there. I could kind of see through him a little bit. And I remember being like just terrified and sitting there like stiff, in my bed on the couch where I was sleeping in the living room. And then I just closed my eyes and covered my head, and I'm like, okay, I'm going back to sleep. This is too much. And then, I just kind of forgot about that. That was my very first experience ever. And it's an interesting question, why some people have these experiences. And I don't know if everyone does, but I know that I've had them since an early age. And that was,
You're talking about a child. Seen a ghost child. I think Don and I were talking earlier. He just brought that up too. Him seeing a spirit of a younger boy. Not of this era. Maybe Ice Age. So
wow, yeah.
So,
and that's an interesting thing too. Is like what age are they at? These spirits that we're seeing. Are they are they recent or are they old?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you could tell it was from the Ice Age. That's cool.
Yeah.
What was that there?
Uh,
Oh.
for yours, what was the child like? Was he wearing a Metallica T-shirt or modern wear?
You know, it was very like silhouette ish. You know, it was kind of like looking, kind of through it like a silhouette, kind of like seeing a shadow, but right in front of you. You know, that's what it was for me.
Mm.
So
Oh.
I saw it, and to me, it was kind of wearing real plain clothes, sort of like I just remember it almost like um maybe like the long sleeve like cotton shirt, like the old, old shirts, older shirts kind of, it
Oh,
just,
geez, huh?
it was older attire for sure, but it was kind of,
Uh,
I didn't see color. It was kind of
hmm.
silhouette.
The gray
Where
kind of
was this at?
ghostly.
This was in Southern California.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
nice.
This is in my, yeah.
A lot
Yeah,
of history there.
for real. I like your background, man. It's really lively. You got a bunch of cats running around in the bag. That's pretty nice.
That's
Uh,
Cosmo there. Yeah.
oh
Oh
That's
wow,
funny. I
yeah,
that's a
didn't
nice
notice
shirt
that
too.
until she ran by.
Right.
should have brought some catnip here. I'm just kidding. Be like, hey, right here. That's funny.
Mm.
That's a
So
little
that
bit of extra entertainment there, right?
oh yeah, yeah. So that so that so that figure was like kind of like gray, white, ghostly,
Yeah,
transparent type of deal,
kind of
huh?
like, yeah, kind of like, yeah, transparent, yeah, whitish, you know, whitish, kind of silverish, sort of
You,
like
you
a
know,
Mm-hmm.
sort of halo.
I try to
Mm-hmm.
put like movies out there that common movies is like so people can kind of get an idea of it. For me, I get the idea of Ghostbusters, the first one where they see the librarian. She's just kind of
Right.
uh,
See through.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
kind of like that, but even less. I think in that movie they made it so you could really see detail.
mm,
For me, it
yeah.
was just very dimly lit, very, it was there, but it was like a shadow sort of as well. You know what I mean? So it was
Wow.
very dimly lit.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I was just like, I didn't want to be
Yeah.
seeing it, so I
Yeah.
closed my eyes. I didn't know what I was seeing there at first, and I think that's an interesting topic. That
Mm,
I don't know if we talk about these supernatural experiences, and it's funny that we talk about these things outside of a normal experience. That it's
Mm-hmm.
not something that we're used to having anymore.
right.
We don't talk about anymore. It's become myth or lore. But I don't think I ever prescribed to that, and maybe that's why I had experiences. Um,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and this is a good segue, I guess, to the Hawaii stories, because that's what I was doing in Hawaii. Is that it was after hours, and me and two buddies decided to hike up this mountain ridge in Oahu, and sometimes, I've heard the stories of the night marchers and all, but I didn't um, think that I would have an experience with them. You know, not that I
Yeah.
didn't think it was real. I didn't think I would have an experience with it. Um, but have you guys heard about the night marchers in Oahu, in
Oh
Hawaii?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
talked about it, Don and I, and uh, that's why I was kind of really excited, man. I have like 20 questions running through my head right now, and uh, one of them is you talk about you threw the blankets over your head. Did you just go straight to bed afterwards? Like just like nothing happened, you just crashed right out?
no, not crashed right out, but just tried to fall asleep. Just kind of
Oh
closed my eyes and just laid there till I fell back to sleep.
wow, that's another interesting aspect too. You see something and then you just kind of just play it off. Then you go like lay down, like wake up, like
Well,
what happened? What was that about?
right, right.
So
Like I woke up because I had I woke up like just feeling something was off, and I opened my eyes and there's some kid
right.
staring at me, in the middle of the night, and I don't know why I was sleeping in the living room, but I was sleeping on our couch in the living room.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because we had a small house back then, and my brother and I
Uh,
shared a room.
did any of your other brothers or your other family members talk about seeing a ghost, or what was your family's aspect of like the spiritual?
My mom was really open to things. She was really liberal minded about that. She came from the '60s era, and
Oh,
people were becoming more open about things and talking about things. Nowadays on the internet, people talk about everything, and geez, with AI, you can see whatever you want to see. But
right.
growing up, um, before internet and before AI, it was all stories and word of mouth, and our family was pretty open to it. I would say my mom was pretty open to it. My dad was pretty. He didn't talk about it much, but they were open to it.
Right. I think 60s brought the man. What was that? Kind of the
LSD,
new-
free love.
yeah, the
Yeah.
new spiritualism. I think that like an era of spiritual.
And
It
that's
was,
the interesting dynamics is that my mom was more of like on the hippie side, my dad was more on the spiritual side, and that's
then and then they got
right,
together and had you, huh?
right.
Wow.
Oh,
So
well,
my dad was going through all different religions and spiritual quests, and my mom was
Wow.
just open to you know
the
just
doorway was already open. Sounds like.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I
Wow,
know.
man. What I've noticed, like from hauntings and ghostly things, like if it's like that, like if it's like gray, it's not, it's friendly. It's not
right.
as evil. And then like if you see apparition like you and I, it's not as bad. But it's those ones that are complete dark, just black, or like they're short or tall, but just
Right.
dark. Those are the ones that
You watch out for.
are not nice. They'll start
I've been
poltergeist. Uh-huh.
I count myself fortunate because I've had pretty good run-ins, I think. It's interesting you say that. Because I didn't get a bad feeling from this ghost. I just didn't know what to think. It was just outside my scope of reference. And
Hmm.
so I just was like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm out of here. But
Yeah.
that's interesting you say that. Yeah, I didn't get a bad feeling from it. And fortunately, all my experiences I've not had a bad feeling about. Even the night marcher one, I was very respectful of. That was the only one that was I was concerned, I would say,
Oh, okay.
with the experience.
Well, sounds like he's ready to take us
Yeah.
into that story. Or unless you have a question, Darren. Unless you have a question.
Oh no, man! It's I'm completely ready for this. It's I was always curious about it too myself,
I
and
know, right?
yep, yeah, we have someone that seen him, out there.
Finally. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, then that's the caveat, I mean, because from the stories I've heard, you're not supposed to, if you come across them, you really don't want to look them in the eye.
Mm,
And that's the story I heard all my years in Hawaii. Um, that these are fallen warriors and they're still out there marching and patrolling and protecting their area. And so if they come across you and they don't recognize you and you don't introduce yourself correctly or you're not family, then you're someone to be eliminated.
wow.
And people could just come up missing, or people come up with having heart attacks or whatever, just found dead. And so that's what I had heard for years before I had my experience.
Mm.
And I can go into the story if you have any questions.
Oh, well, Darren, you have a question?
Uh, your first time going to visiting the family out there. What was the rumors? Was it just like how you're saying it earlier? It was just more open, Uh, before you get into the stories, what were the rumors? What were you told about them, or why were they marching?
Well, what I had heard, the stories I'd heard from friends who were Hawaiian that I'd met there, was that during the time when there was the battle going on between King Kamehameha and the other kings and chiefs of the islands. Um, what would happen and what happened in Oahu is that the warriors they battled, um, and they pushed them all the way up the mountainsides and up in the islands. You have these very steep mountains, and then on the other side of the mountains, it's straight down cliffs. They're called the polys, and so the warriors battled all the way up, and they wouldn't surrender. And so rather than surrender, they went over the backside of the cliffs, and they all perished.
Whoa.
And so these are fallen warriors that um, still are marching and still patrolling these mountainsides and still trying to protect, still protecting them. And that's the stories I had heard. And so if you were not related to these warriors, or you were not family, or you didn't, introduce yourself properly, then they would do what a warrior does and they would take you out.
Wow.
Those are the stories I had heard. Yeah.
Do you ever hear anybody talk about, just like you, about what we're going to talk about? Have you met anybody that actually said that they seen them before you seen them too?
That's a good question. No, I really hadn't. I hadn't met anyone who actually talked about coming across them, or just heard stories. The stories passed down.
Right.
Yeah. That's
What was your
probably another
idea?
reason.
Oh,
Well, that's
no,
probably another reason I was like thinking that I would never run into them. I was thinking maybe more. It was maybe more something of the past.
Yeah, you you just answered the question I was going to bring up right there. What was your aspect? What was your idea of these?
Yeah.
These boogies out there.
Yeah, I figured it was something that had occurred and that they had been, but I figured, well, it's been a long time, and really hasn't been too long. But I've kind of in my mind, as a 20-year-old, I'm thinking, oh, it's been a while. These spirits have probably moved on by now.
All right.
I didn't doubt
Yeah.
that it was happening. I just, didn't think it would happen to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually how it happens, man. No one plans any of this. So, now without further ado, let's get back to that day. Let's go to the morning. What did you eat? What was your
This was a long time ago. Yeah, no, this was a good 30 plus years ago. And so I just was going about a normal day, and a couple buddies and I, we like to get together and play music. And so we decided, hey, let's trek up into the mountains here behind our house. And there's a nice little park and then pathway you could go up there and sit on some picnic tables. And so we did that. It's after hours, so we had to park outside the gates, and then we had to hike just a little bit up the road and to where the park is at. Norfolk Pine Park is what it was called, I believe. And we found a nice bench, and we sat there on that bench. And it's kind of cool because it's on the mountaintop, right? So there's no houses around us, and we could play music and make noise and have no worries. And it only takes about 10-15 minutes maybe to get there from where we parked our cars. And we sat down, unpacked our instruments, and I started playing for about 5 minutes. And where I was seated, I could look over to my left, and I could look over where the mountain kind of dropped off into the valley. And I was just sitting there and enjoying the view and watching the stars and getting into the groove. And I was playing some drums, some hand drums, and I think that was the calling right there, what kind of called them in. Because I'm sitting there playing some rhythms, and all of a sudden I'm seeing this star glow brighter and brighter. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. And after like 5 minutes, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and next thing I know, it's actually on the mountain ridge with us. And I'm like thinking to myself, this is not right. Something's going on here. And we'd been there for maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes at that point. And we usually would, go on for a couple hours. And I looked at my buddies, and my face must have been pale or something. But I said, "Hey, we're out of here. Let's go. Let's pack up. We're out." And they looked at me, didn't even say a word, and just packed up, and we were out of there in seconds. And by the time we got from the benches, the picnic table, to the paved road, that light was within 20 or 30 feet from where we were. And at that point, I could start to smell the torch. I could smell it. The night
Whoa.
marchers were known for carrying their torches. And I could smell the flame. And I'm like, okay, we're booking. And because I didn't want to have to cross paths with them, is what I'm thinking at this point. And so now we start down the paved road. And interesting enough, it kind of, like I said, it was about a 10-minute walk, is all, 15 minutes maybe. But as the road went down the hillside, the mountain kind of was up above the road a little bit. And that torch flanked us the entire time down the road. And I could see it out of my peripheral, and I would not turn to look at it because then I didn't want to take a chance with what might happen, because already I was having this experience of having this light come up on us and now smelling a torch. And my buddies must have been having the same experience, because we didn't say a word and we were getting out of there as fast as we could. And the funny thing is, we all jumped in the car, we booked it out of there, and we didn't even talk about it. We just, I mean, we were like, what was that? I don't know. That was it. We just took off and we were gone. And, the odd thing is back then we didn't talk about things much like that when they would happen. You just kind of let it go. And that was it. That was close enough for me.
Right. Well, there's always that thin line between myth and, reality. And, you came across it, this. So you said it was a star. Like,
I
did you
thought it
see
was a
it?
star at first. I'm thinking it was a star because I'm seeing something glowing out in the distance. And but
was it in the sky, or was it on the
that was
mountain?
the odd part about it. Yeah, it's like I was looking out over the valley, from the mountaintop. We had, there's valleys that go down and back up, and you can see from ridge to ridge and over.
Mm.
And it looked to me as if it was hovering in the air above the valley, in between the peak I was on and the next peak.
Well, so
So that's
what's
why
your idea of a possible UFO encounter like that?
That's crazy.
that's a good question. I don't know, but my mind felt it. I smelt the torch.
Yeah,
So
that's one thing that I brought up too. Man, kind of getting chills. Just you see something, then you smell. Your body reacts to whatever this paranormal stuff is. It's really odd. Even the smell. It's how those people say they smell like cologne, or or
right,
cigarettes.
right,
Man, it just breaks a whole nother level.
yeah.
Talk about stuff like that.
Mhm.
How close was this flame with you guys?
When it came, when we were on the road, I would say it was probably within 20 feet of us.
Ooh,
15 to 20 feet was, the closest distance it was to
wow.
us.
Oh,
And again, it was, I never thought of it being anything other than a torch, because in my peripheral, it looked like the size of like a baseball or softball, sort of glowing
mm,
and following us.
yeah.
But again, I didn't dare take a good look at
Oh,
it.
right, right. There's a couple of situations I've been in that same spot too. Yeah, I think it was like downtown Tempe or Tucson. There's like a drug addict. Story short, he had his reproductive organs inside a clear cup, and he's had his thumb out. And
Oh wow.
yeah, and my brother was driving. I was on passenger side. Just the same thing. You don't want to look, but like we already seen it. So, I get to understand that feeling. But thanks, that is, it's truly creepy. Um, You said you were carrying your drums. Did you carry like the whole drum, like the whole setup,
No,
or
The
I'm
like?
hand
a
drum,
percussionist.
one little
Yeah, so
drum.
I had
Oh,
some congas or
yeah. I was
something like
thinking
that.
like, man, this guy's carrying all
No,
these
not a kit.
just
No,
drum
just a
set.
Did you
backpack. Just a backpack.
did you have dreads in that whole deal too? You have to have the dreads to match with the drums. I'm just playing.
I don't know if I did
or
back then. I don't know if I did back then.
or um,
Maybe.
even better, man. I do like music too. I'm a avid music listener myself. Well, what were you
You
guys
know what's
playing? What
interesting
was
is
the
my later experiences were around music too. My first Bigfoot experience was involving music as well.
Wow, even better.
What?
What were you playing the drums
We were
during
playing,
that?
yeah, we were playing all kinds of drums that
Wow.
night. Yeah.
You might need to record this
Drums.
and see
You
what we
might
can
need
get off
to.
there. You have
Yeah.
I had
some
to buy some drums there.
pretty
Do, do,
good
do, do, do,
music
do.
abilities right there. So who knows? Who knows?
Oh man.
Wow, that's really interesting. That is really interesting. You kind of I hate to say the word summon, but it's kind of a coincidence. You play music and then you have uh
Experience. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just
Well,
stuff like that.
I I wouldn't say summon is it, I don't think that's
Yeah, yeah.
the
I
experience
want
I
to use
had. The way that I because I was playing the music just to be playing the music, and we were all playing the music to enjoy the music, and have a
mm,
good time. So that was the reason for out there and making music. And the I'm not sure with the night marchers, but with my Bigfoot experience, I think that um it was a mutual enjoyment of that moment,
mm.
and that's why the experience happened, you know.
One thing about Bigfoot is I was always told that there were the creators sang and these Bigfoot were dancing to existence. So who
Uh,
knows? Maybe these Bigfoot are average music lovers.
Yeah, and that's I
So
guess what I'm trying to
uh,
get to, and what I'm trying to say is I think that like the experience I had with Bigfoot, it was definitely he was enjoying the moment with us with the music we were making and the experience we were having. Um, I guess I could jump right into that story. Um, and that took place in Washington on the Washington Peninsula, and
mm,
we'd been up there on the right there near the BLM land, so it was pretty remote. And there's hot springs up there and such. We've been, soaking all day and having a, relaxing time. And then around the fire down in the valley, um, there was probably about 10 of us making music. We had all kinds of instruments. But our buddy, who was a really good percussionist, had timbales. And if you're familiar with timbales, those
mm,
things are loud. They're the loudest percussion instrument around. And we're in the bottom of this valley playing music, and there's mountains going up on either side, and the music just echoing through the valley. It's incredible, like amphitheater effect. And for some reason this year up there in the Washington Peninsula, was during winter, coming on winter, and the northern lights were starting to come down as we're sitting there having this experience playing music and enjoying the fire and just having a good old time. And these northern lights come out, and we all stopped drumming because our buddy with the timbales was playing these sounds that sounded like lightning and thunder and making these noises that I've never even heard before. And it was like he was playing to the aurora borealis, and the
mm,
aurora borealis was playing
mm.
back to him. And it was just a spiritual experience in itself. And at the apex of all that, and his drumming is just insane, this yell let out so loud that it echoed louder than his drums down from the top of the ridge down the valley. And it was just this hollow, scream. And it wasn't like it was a scream of excitement and enjoyment. Everything that we were feeling inside, it expressed vocally, and it was
Wow.
amazing. And that was my first Bigfoot experience. And we all got chills and looked at each other. We were just like, oh my God, that was a Bigfoot. No one questioned what it was. And there was about 20 or 30 of us there at that time.
Wow, man, I hate to be jealous, but that you just set the proper, how oh man, I don't have words for this right now.
Conditions.
You set that mood. You're playing music, everybody's having a good jam session out there in nature. The
Harmonious.
aurora borealis comes up, and
It was magical. It was something else. It was spiritual. It really was. And that was what was really nice, man, is because we were all kind of in that mindset. We were kind of like wanting to have, we were really looking for experiences like that, looking for experience other than what we had grown up with and been told. And myself, I was coming right out of college. I was kind of on break. It was third year of college. I'm going, what's going on? What am I gonna do? What am I doing with my life? And then have some real life experiences like that,
right? And
that wakes you up,
right? Exactly. People should be awake to events like these, and I could consider that a gift. Pretty much. After that,
right.
Yeah. What was your thoughts of Bigfoot? Was that the first time you ever used that word? Bigfoot, or
we had known about it. I think there'd been soft disclosure for a little while. I think soft disclosure started with like Star Wars.
Right.
We have Chewbacca, right? What was he? He was a Bigfoot.
Yep.
But I grew up in the 70s, and these paranormal or supernatural things weren't really talked about. And if you talked about these things, if you talked about having these experiences like seeing UFOs or ghosts, people kind of looked at you sort of sideways. They're kind of oh, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Which again, I think is kind of I commend you for what you guys are doing, because even for me getting on here and talking about this is still I guess growing up in that era, I had to overcome, my my conditioning to talk about it freely,
Right.
Oh yeah.
So to answer that question, I guess I'd always been open to these things and experiences, but I grew up in a time when you didn't talk about them. So it wasn't until the first time I heard him yell, and I was kind of breaking out on my own a little bit more, and going outside of traditional schooling and learning and knowledge, that I started asking questions myself, like what is life really about? What is reality really about? What is a spiritual life about? What are spiritual happenings? And to me, paranormal things and supernatural things fell into those categories. So I was open, but I was also very skeptical at the same time. But that night when I heard that Bigfoot, there was no doubting what we heard.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of a taboo we're trying to break. Being a Native American, we never really talked about this out in the open like what we're doing now, and
right.
We're trying to give a platform out for people like yourself. Like you grew up in an area where it was like what you said, it was soft disclosure. Everybody had a certain idea what it was, but they never really talked about it. But we got this podcast going. You can spill whatever you have on your mind about these subjects. And this is one. Maybe this is probably the first time I ever heard of a Bigfoot reacting to music. I heard, which is really unique, and it kind of piques my interest a bit more. Maybe Don, the next time we go out, we can put a nice jam session on out there, in the woods, and see.
For real.
Yeah, I'm sure even just bringing some recorded music and playing it
Right.
You know, and I would imagine, you know,
Well,
I what were you gonna say?
that comes to my next question. Would you mind playing some drums for us? So yeah, yeah. Just go back to the night you were at the Hawaii. I really like music. There's a lot of stuff I
06.
don't.
Yeah.
That's the first
Yeah.
time I heard that word. That you said about the largest. So I might have to look that up. I might have to look that up and see
Oh,
what
the night marchers.
uh
No, the drums, that big drum.
Oh, the kunga, the congas. Yeah, the congas.
yeah, yeah. That's the
Oh,
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time I heard that
okay.
word. So learn something
That's
new.
the yeah. That's yeah. That's a good drill. That's the one you see most percussionists playing with bands and stuff are the congos.
Huh.
Okay.
I'll look it up
Definitely gonna
and
have to have a jam. We're gonna have to have a
yeah,
jam session for real. Probably Chaco Canyon.
Yeah.
Who knows? One of these old haunted washes. We'll see what we can drum up. But that sounds like a really great idea for real, Darren.
mm,
um uh so during your time, like on your time on the where you currently reside, have you used your drums and seen anything weird go on or no?
You know, um, no, I haven't personally really seen anything in our backyard here. Um, I've had some friend. I know there's been experiences around here, but I haven't had anything with my drums or with any music personally. Um, not right here. No. Interesting enough.
Mm-mm.
so going back to your jam session, what did you ever tell your brother or your parents like
Uh,
like mom, dad, guess what happened, or you know co- like just due to the excitement,
the one in Washington.
yeah, because I know when I first seen this exorcism, back on the reservation, my father showed up, and I swear we turned into like a bunch of little kids, just like dad, 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 walking around, like just like you want to believe what we just seen, was it anything like that for you, or how did you go about it?
Well, when we
Or
all
what?
heard him yell like that, my brother was there with me, so that was cool.
Oh, oh, that's even better too.
Yeah, yeah. So we shared that experience, and then the rest of the folks were just friends we made along the way. We're traveling with. Um, so we yeah, and he had the same experience. Again, it was that experience was undoubtable. I mean, there's just, and I guess that's how most experiences are. There, when you have it, other people might question you, but you don't question what you experienced or what you heard. There's
Right.
nothing that could make that noise that loud and at that time, um, with that expression, all of it. You could hear it in its voice, the excitement that it was feeling, that it was sharing with us.
Mhm.
That was really cool.
Well, that's
It is.
that is a pretty cool experience. You and Bigfoot just enjoying music out there in the
Yeah.
woods. So,
And I think, if you think about it, I mean, he's been around for a long time, from what I
mhm,
understand. He's been around longer than our species, and so just like animals and nature enjoy hearing our music, undoubtedly Bigfoot's gonna
right.
enjoy that, and I'm sure. It didn't even occur to me until you were mentioning it. Like bringing some music out and playing some music. But bring out some of the songs from those areas and play those songs and see what happens. That
Yeah,
would be amazing.
you know what
Gotta go
that
back.
yeah, go back in time. What
Right.
just you talking about that just kind of put the chills in my body right there. Just like, wow, I never thought of that either. That's a really good
Yeah, because I know like we've had we have some Bigfoot songs that I've heard down here, and it'd be really amazing to go out there and sing some of those songs and or play them and have them recorded or singing them and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if
do
you
it, do
guys
it a
ever
few
seen
times and
that.
see what happens.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Uh,
I don't know if you guys ever seen that picture of a Bigfoot playing drums and singing with
yeah.
the normal
Yeah.
people. So, like, I bet like every tribe has a song with Bigfoot, and I know we do too. Remember we were chatting with Randy. He
Yeah.
Right.
said
Yeah.
game songs. We have a song
Yeah.
for Bigfoot because he's on the night team and
Yeah.
we're on the day team.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
That
pretty
that.
awesome. Uh,
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. That is. That is pretty awesome. Uh, it's also another good aspect. This Bigfoot character, this Sasquatch, is he's a family man. From what I get you see him with kids and a wife. They
Yeah.
have a nice little family, and it makes me feel better that Bigfoot likes music. He's a music listener, and
You know,
you
I
mentioned,
there's
oh,
a and I think that speaks to the fact that there's an intelligence.
mm,
There's a creative mind there. Um, I mean, shoots to be able to exist, and be on the peripherals of of being seen and not seen. They pretty much
mhm.
I think kind of choose when to show
To
themselves.
avoid. Yeah.
Yeah, very intelligent.
for
Hmm.
sure.
Even like
Uh,
just seeing how they construct their homes, like
Um,
they'll use like say there'll be four trees and they'll weave all those trees with different branches that they brought in. They weave them all together, bind them all together. So
I
there's definitely an intelligence for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wish I knew that stuff when I was younger. I didn't have access to that kind of information, and uh, it wasn't until I heard Coast to Coast, you started listening to Coast to Coast,
all right.
that I even heard people talking about Bigfoot. Really talking about it openly, and that's it's kind of interesting when you think about it.
Mm,
Yeah. Coast
yeah,
to
it is.
coast. That was the standard right there.
Yeah, yeah. That's the.
Especially when they talked about skinwalkers, like that guy's line kept dropping every time
Mm,
they didn't want information to get out. But what were you gonna say
Yeah,
there? Yeah.
uh, you said the word audio. That also put another question in my head. Was anybody recording during this night?
you know, not back then, no, because this was pre cell phone.
Oh, yeah, that's a
90s,
totally
huh?
different age too. So yeah, uh,
Live
you
in the
know,
moment.
yeah, living in the
Yeah,
moment. Yeah, that's the best thing. That's the best thing you can say is just living in the moment. Nice
yeah.
jam
Listen
session,
days.
Bigfoot.
That would have
Uh,
been amazing. But it would have been had been recorded on a tape cassette or something,
yeah,
back then,
yeah.
and
And
that
even
quality would
Well,
have been terrible.
right, right. Yeah, just having this aurora. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I can just imagine this aurora borealis. I'm really jealous of people that live out there and see such lights in the sky. Oh man, it
It
always.
usually doesn't make it that far south. It was a
Yeah,
unique winter. We were really fortunate. That's why again it added to the
yep,
uniqueness of it.
last time I
yeah,
seen it, um, was not too long ago. We can barely see it, just the red, but as a child, I could see green, I can see multiple colors, but that's the last time I ever seen the northern lights like that. I've never seen it like that ever since then. Probably because all the carbon, all the pollution. I think that's why it's stopping. And at the same time, the poles are shifting, so we don't know what's gonna happen soon.
That's another,
That's
yeah,
it.
oh yeah,
that's a
yeah,
whole another topic.
For
yeah,
real. Another can of worms.
yeah.
you know,
uh,
thinking
go ahead.
about that, the northern lights, that's a lot of like electricity and electromagnetism, huh?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
think about
smacking the
that.
whole uh, gravity of the world type deal.
Yeah, there's some tribes they say that you're not supposed to whistle at them. And when you whistle, they'll come down. They said they'll leave the sky and come all the way down to the ground like a cloud, like a fog, and they'll be looking around, see who's whistling.
The Aurora Borealis will do that.
Right.
Really?
That's what the story is that you heard.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I thought you heard the same thing, but that's from multiple tribes in Canada, and there's multiple reasons why you don't whistle at night, and that's one of the things to whistle at night to the northern lights, because they'll come down and they'll take you away. That's one of the
That's
stories.
interesting because I've been listening to this lady a lot lately who's talking about plasma and plasma energy and such, and she's talking about how relating that plasma energy to those type of electromagnetic fields and such, and that those are what was she saying? Were like could take form like that, like you were just saying, like come down like actual like entities and take you, you know. She was like kind of referencing them, kind of. I believe she was tying them together with the story of like the Anunnaki and such, and
Right.
saying that it was just an interpretation of plasma energies.
You know, those
yeah.
conversations that we really like to have in person with someone. You know, like
Right.
yeah. Who do you remember who lady this is? I'm really curious now. You know.
Gosh, I'd have to. I can't remember her name. I apologize. I should
Oh,
have
it's all good.
thought of that.
You can send me a message. I'll send it there, and
I'll
I
do
like
that.
to
I'll
look
do
into
that.
that too.
But she writes about it, and she's very much into this. You know, the plasma energy and well, because you know, you think about it as in this dense reality, this physical reality is there's less material and density than there is gray matter or dark matter or plasma energy. You know, so it's you know, this manifestation of density is actually um less likely to occur than non-matter. And so it's I don't know, it's
It's that's
creation in itself, you know, reality in
yeah.
itself is something. Well, you
Mhm.
know, that's why I think we called it the Great Mystery, right?
Yeah.
Right. We
Few words really stuck out when you're chatting there. Manifestation, plasma, and one word that ties that all together is um coming in and out of our reality, because I seen multiple UFOs on the Navajo Nation that were like a metal spear or a classic UFO metal shining, giving off light, from the sunlight or whatever, and then it would light up like a plasma, and then like a ball of light, and then just disappear. you know so that I just saw plasma, what I mean, so all that stuff,
Yeah.
so I've yet to figure that
Plasma,
out as well.
orbs, UFOs, you know, I mean, they're all like you said, I mean, they could kind of go into each other. They're one and the same,
Hmm.
you know.
Interesting.
you
Yeah.
know that you said the word plasma. You know, I think I would use that word to define my ghost experience when I was a younger kid, because it was just raw energy. That's the best way I could put it with plasma. Just raw energy being
Yeah.
expended. And there's no other word. Other, I try to define it too as I don't know if you ever worked in a metal factory or anything. You see molten metal, and then you just see the light that it gives off. It emits that just raw energy. That's
Right.
another way I can put it. But plasma, I like the word plasma too. So yeah,
Yeah, you know, and it's a word that we use, you know, pre 1900s, I think a little more. It was referred to as ether. Ether is another word
right.
for that energy, that primordial energy or dark energy that we don't see. That is really like a creative force, you know.
Mm,
But
yeah, everything.
Mm.
we
How they
digress.
say it, everything slips into the ether. That you see smoke and then it goes off, and that you would define that as breaking in down of energy and slipping into this ether. So, wow, Man, that
And yeah, and these paranormal experiences, supernatural experiences seem to happen in these energetic areas and places, you know.
yep.
Oh yeah, just like the Navajo Nation, the
Exactly.
Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
And then if
yeah,
you get a lot of people like the Navajo Nation that are like-minded and understand how to work with energies, yeah,
Yeah,
you can.
I think probably the best place to go in Arizona would probably be Sedona. I think that is just a hotbed of uh, what would you call new age, new age spiritualism, and basically on a giant copper block out there, and it attracts so much. I hate to say this word, but it attracts so much kind of like weirdos,
It
Uh,
does. Yeah, I can, of course.
yeah,
Just like Mount Shasta, right?
right.
But
oh
there's a reason. There's a reason why, it's because it's again, it's a ley line. It's where these energies cross,
Mm,
and it's where a lot of activity occurs. So yeah, if you can align yourself with it in these areas and align your thoughts and your prayers and such, you can. I think that's why a lot of these churches and these groups can take advantage of people, and unfortunately, is because they can claim that it's they have something to do with it, when really it's the areas and it's your intention, it's your prayers, it's your thought, your manifestation that you can
mm.
make happen in these areas more easily, I would say. That's
yeah,
my thought on that.
Oh no, and
yeah,
it's perfectly welcome here, man. I like the exchange of ideas and talking about subjects like these because it puts a lot more questions inside my head about what's really this world. What are we truly living in? Do people kind of refer to as a simulation? And if it is it just each individual, or are we all just living all together, just trying to make sense? And basically what we're doing right now is just talking about what this is. Where are we? Who are we?
Yeah, deciphering our experiences,
Mm,
and that's why when I was invited on here, I was at the same time I was a little nervous. I was like, it's good to share these stories because they're not out there, too much, and we need to talk about this side of life too.
right.
It's so easy to get caught up talking about who we are as far as related to our work or other things
Mm,
in our lives, and we don't take time to have these story time anymore. In
yeah,
Hawaii they call it sitting down and talk story.
yep. No, there's no better place than to sit around a campfire and just talk about
Absolutely.
life. Talk about it and forget the rat race and how much gas is and all that jumbo. Just sit
Right.
down and
mhm,
better and like just play music and talk and laugh and be what life is meant to be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And going back to the ley lines, the grids, I think it's because like all the volcanoes, empty caverns, the tunnel systems, all that, I think it really does play a role in it. I don't know if it opens doors. I think that's why um our tradition says that we're not supposed to harm our mother, we're not supposed to make holes in her and all that, because it could upset her. You don't know what you're gonna open, basically
Right.
Pandora's box. And Mount Shasta is a very, very special mountain. It's one of my favorite mountains because I used to live on Hoopa Indian Reservation back in Nam, and that's where you had your one of your encounters, huh?
Yeah, that's where I had my first visual encounter. um Yeah, that right there, bordering the Hoopa Reservation. We were in Wichipec, and my brother and his wife and their daughter, who was about two, I would say at the time. Um, we all lived together in a cabin on top of this mountain in Wichipec, and um, that area out there is desolate. We had
Yeah.
one neighbor on that entire mountainside, and that was it. And to get from the valley bottom where Wichipeg town was, and then start going up the hillside to get to where the cabin was that we were caretaking. That was about a 30 to 45-minute drive up this mountainside. And so we were in remote country out there. And funny enough, again, pre-internet, you know, we decided to move to Northern California because we wanted to kind of, you know, try to meet more people who might be similar to us. And you know, I didn't even realize that we were in Bigfoot country when we moved up there, you know. And so we move up there, and lo and behold, we're in the, you know, Wichipec is about, if you don't know, it's about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes north of Willow Creek. And Willow Creek is where the Patterson films come from.
Mm.
And so that's
Correct.
that same, you know, area is where I had that first experience with physically seeing Bigfoot, running face to face into Bigfoot.
Wait. You you said you ran face to face with Bigfoot? Is that?
Well, I mean, within 100 yards or 100 feet or so from me, yeah, I saw, yeah, up there in
Wow.
that mountainside.
Simeon, lead us into that story.
Yeah. He's kind of
Yeah.
stopping. Like, wait, can I
Pretty
hear
good
that? Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Roll us into this
Yeah,
one.
So
Darren
this
hasn't
was,
heard the story, but yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
okay. This was after, so this was after we heard, my brother and I had heard Bigfoot, you know, scream in Washington. This was probably 2 or 3 years later, and now we're living up in Wichipec. And again, like I, you know, if you when you look it up on the map, even today, it's like I mean, logging is the only thing they really do up there anymore, and it's remote. And we were living in this cabin that we found out about from a friend in Willow Creek. Um, we kind of needed a place to stay, and he said, yeah, you know, they're looking for a caretaker, and so we said we'd do it. And uh, again, remote. We're living on this huge mountainside. Hoopa Reservation is our only neighbor, and uh, there wasn't much to do up there. You know, we would garden, we would swim. We had a lake there on the property that was fed from the artesian well, and so my brother and I started hunting mushrooms and looking for mushrooms that we could try to sell at the market, or you know, just eat for ourselves. And that's how I ran into him. I was out there hiking one day, and I just happened to be by myself this time, and I was looking for a certain variety of mushroom that I kind of discovered grew in the creeks. And we had a creek that ran on the north side of us, and it came down um, to about to just south of the property, and then another creek came on the other side of the property, and they intersected on the far south side of the property. And so I figured I would just follow the Y down, come down one side of the creek, and then go back up the other. And the house sat right in the middle. And I started. And it's about, probably, I would say, depending on how quickly you're going, it's probably about a 45-minute hike going down this creek and then back up. And I started down. I came all the way down looking for these mushrooms, didn't find them. And I came to where the two creeks intersect. And so I was going to start back up the trail, up the other creek, going back up towards the house, call it a day. And when I got down to the intersection where the two creeks come together, I heard something running down the other creek bed. And so I'm thinking, okay, what's this coming down the creek? And we had two dogs, so I figured, okay, it has to be our dogs because they're barreling down the creek, and nothing else could be running that fast. And so before I turn the corner and I'm hearing this sound, I decide I'm going to play a little game with the dogs. Then I'm going to just stop. I'm going to wait for them to come down, and then when they get close enough, I'll jump out. And that's what I was thinking, right? And so I'm hearing this sound coming down the creek, and I'm hearing and it's just making all kinds of noise. And I'm like, God, these guys are jamming. They're coming down fast and furious. And I could only see so far. I could see about 100, 150 feet away from me before it turned, and I couldn't see anymore. And there was kind of a big boulder there. And as soon as the noise got to where it would be in the opening where I could see, it stopped. And that was my first curiosity. I was like, huh, that's interesting, because I know I am waiting for it to come down the creek, and I heard it didn't hear me. I was just barely walking. It's running down, and I was being super observant. I'm noticing which way the wind's blowing, all that, We've been living up there in the hills for a while, and next thing I know, from behind this boulder, this creature stands up, and I can see from its waist up, and it's not our dogs. It's not the dogs. It's this big hairy thing, and it's looking at me, and I'm looking at it, and I'm wondering how it's even knows I'm there, because I hadn't made a sound at all. And next thing I knew, it kind of stepped out, and it kept its eyes on me a little bit, and then turned its head and jumped across the creek, or stepped across the creek. It just took one step across the creek, and then up the hillside right there, ting, ding, ting, like 2 little steps up the hillside, and it was gone into the bush. And I was scratching my head going, what in the world? I know what I saw, but I can't believe what I saw. And I'm trying to figure out how the dogs did that, how the dogs looked like a creature and jumped at the same time, or whatever they did to look like a big hairy Bigfoot, because I couldn't believe it, And so I'm like, okay, did I really see what I saw? So here I am. I take off running in the direction that it was took off. And for me to get across the creek was 3 or 4 steps. For me to get up the hill, I had to crawl on all 4. And that's how massive this thing was. It made it look like nothing. And then I took off running into the bush, into the forest up there. And there was really no trail, and I couldn't see anything. And so after like 10 steps or so, I realized that it wasn't too smart to be trying to chase something to the forest. And so I stopped and turned around and went back up to the cabin.
Dang. Yeah. I like that. I like how you made yourself stop, and then you thought like how was that, how put everything together, how could the dogs do that? And then you charge, makes it even better too, you charge after it, and then you're like, oh, that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
Wow. Dang, dude. That's pretty. When did this happen? When
this was I was thinking about it, and this was like had to be like 97, 98 when this happened.
Huh. Well, it's
the 90s.
Yeah.
Did you say that it had white fur as well?
So there was a few things that stood out to me, like that made me question what I had seen. First of all, again, it happened in a time when I couldn't go on the internet and research what happened. I couldn't really talk to too many people about it because I didn't know anyone had seen anything like that. And the thing that really blew me away is that it was completely white. It was like grayish white, and it had no smell. There was no smell. And so all the stories I had heard, what I did know about Bigfoot is that it was dark and that it smelled terrible. But again, it wasn't until I started listening to Coast to Coast a couple years after that, probably in the early 2000s, that I heard people talking about Bigfoot, and I realized a few things. I realized, one, that some are white and some do get gray and gray out just like we do. And then I heard another thing that they only let out that smell if they're threatened or trying to be threatening. And I think because the way he came up on me. I mean, he must have sensed me because he stopped, but either he didn't have time to be threatened, or he just wasn't threatened by my presence. He obviously wasn't threatened by me at all. I mean, these things are massive.
Right.
It's his territory. It's his home for sure. I felt out of place there.
Very
Yeah.
small there. How
Yeah,
tall do
I
you
felt
think
real
this guy
small.
was? Yeah, definitely.
I
How
just remember it being big. Like it had to be at least 8 feet. It just seemed huge, just massive. And a funny part about this, I was telling this story a few years later, and my brother happened to be there, and he's like, "Oh, you left out the best part." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "When you came back to the cabin," he's like, "You walked in and you were like white as a ghost, and I asked you, oh, what happened? Did you see a ghost?" And you're like, "No, I saw a Bigfoot." So like even before I even said anything, it was obvious that I had an experience to my brother anyhow. Unfortunately, he wasn't there with me that time. We were always hiking together. It was kind of odd that he wasn't with me that time.
Well, well, dang.
that happens
Fun.
sometimes.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
happens.
And that time it was with no music, nothing. Just again, I was just out looking for the mushrooms that we would hunt around the
Mushrooms.
area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do respect a good mushroom hunt every once in a while too myself. That you look in the screen right here, you got a little mushroom right there. Always been a big fan of Alice in Wonderland, stuff like that.
I like
eat,
I think
eat
that
half.
mushroom can take you out of reality for 3 hours in the back one. I'm eyeing that
Oh
one.
yeah,
If that's
Just
the
kidding.
red cap one, that's for sure.
yeah,
The break
No,
from
we were up there
reality.
on that. I'm not sure if you've heard about matsutake mushrooms, but there's a
yeah.
matsutake trail and the mushrooms start really far north. Gosh, as
It's
far as
Oregon.
maybe, yeah, all the way up to Oregon, Washington, even maybe further north, and comes all the way down into even into California, Southern California. But yeah, that's one of the ways we were able to make money up there. There wasn't a lot of ways to make any income up there.
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, uh, that's in Oregon. That's the number one missing people, mushroom hunters. So,
Really?
you know, yeah, it like if you look up Oregon, because the whole time I was in Northern California, that's what they told me too. Missing people are mushroom pickers.
Well, I was almost I was almost one of those people. I was out hunting those mushrooms one night and or one day, and it turned into night because I found a trail and it just that's I think why people go missing is because you get further and further into the forest, and the further you get, you start picking up the trail of where they're growing, because they're a network, and it's like hitting, it's hard to stop once you start finding them.
Right.
And then you keep on going. I went all the way to the top of this mountain. By the time I got down, I was lost. I was so lost. It was pitch dark. Can't tell where you're going at all. I almost didn't make it out of that one.
Oh man, sheesh.
Well, you have an amazing encounter right there, and you're here. You chop it up here with us.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
what color was your dogs? Were they white too, or?
Yeah, that's the thing is one of them was like a white wolf, and the other one was like a shepherd, more brown. Um so that's why at first,
Big
when I saw
dogs.
its head, I thought it was our dog, even then, but then when it stood up, I was like, that's
Yeah,
not that dog.
you just imagine.
and and it jumped across the creek, and it was that, that Bigfoot crossing, with the two arms and two legs.
Mhm.
It's but again, in my mind, I'm going, okay, well, if the dogs jumped at the exact same time, maybe I'm seeing things. Um,
Yeah,
but that's
I
just our
can.
rational mind trying to make sense of something
Yeah,
that's not sensible.
yeah, yeah. I can imagine two dogs just one standing on the other one's shoulders, and they're just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
I thought I was going to jump out and scare them, right?
yeah, yeah. I respect
That
that
would
too,
be a
man.
skinwalker. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Darren. Sorry.
I usually do that with my dog too. I sit there and I run off and find a corner and you play around with your animals like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, That's
when you
and
got
that's
a lot
good
of time and you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's kind of fun.
right, right.
Yeah. What your story remind me of was from Hanson's story, Darren. Remember he was all in camo? He was
Mm,
bow staying underneath the tree and he saw that dog man running down the ridge and
yeah.
then it stopped, it turned, looked right at him. Then he had like a scent controlling spray on too.
Mm,
So he was like, how in the hell did you see me? This thing was looking right at him. So
That's
you
the
know
thing is that, yeah.
oh go ahead,
yep.
sorry.
No, that feels like it definitely felt like he sensed me for sure. They have an extra sense like that. They're more tapped in that way, I think.
Right. And also, humans, we're not really quiet animals when it comes down to walking around the woods. Uh, other than like a big cat,
Yeah.
they can, you know, we tend to make a lot of noise. As much as you try to blend in, I'm pretty sure nature will look at you like, what is that? Just
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure like with the dog man, I'm pretty sure he used to walk around, take a trot in that same area and then he noticed something different. So,
Yeah.
uh, that could always be a factor too. So, but we're talking about it. So that's the best thing. We're just spitballing, throwing the ball back and forth. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which
Hey,
is the
Simeon. Oh, sorry, Darren. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't
oh
mean to
no
cut
no
you off.
right there right there.
Oh, I was telling Darren earlier on Sasquatch Chronicles, there was an episode where they're talking about the white Sasquatches don't have any teeth because they're old, and when they catch their prey, they eat them from the inside out
Oh wow.
slowly. Yep, and they rip
Yeah.
their bones apart. So the old ones stay in certain parts while the younger ones go and migrate and they bring food back to the old one, or the old one hunts
Oh.
and lives off of whatever he can find. So there's a lot of
And
stories of it having no teeth, and it'll
that
gut
brings up
people out from their rear end, and even from their stomach too, from their guts, opening up their belly button area. So it's very, very, very ugly stories I've heard relating to the
uh,
white one.
That's
And
gnarly, yeah.
on Navajo Nation, they say the white ones are the evil ones. They like to chase after horses. They like to eat horses.
Huh.
So that's some of the few stories I heard on the white Bigfoot. 300 years old, over 200 years old. That's when they turn white. That's what Thomas Seawood said. Tom Seawood. But yeah, Darren, you have any questions?
yeah, you bringing up that it's eating the insides. I think Will Jennings, you brought up a story like that. A girl, she got stopped and she got knocked out and she woke up and the Bigfoot was eating her intestines when she was
Intestines. Yeah.
yeah. And if I remember right, that was somewhere in Washington or Oregon, I think. If I remember
Wow.
right, don't quote me on that, but
I've been Oregon.
yeah. So beware. Another cautionary tale. Just a warning. Um,
Yeah.
other than your jam session Bigfoot, there's others out there that are pretty brutal and uh,
I, I've started to hear that lately too. That there's different species and different types of Bigfoot out there, and some are not friendly. Again, like I was kind of saying earlier, I feel fortunate that I never felt threatened or intimidated. I mean, if that dude wanted to come down and make lunch of me, he really could have very easily. I mean, with how quickly he was moving and stuff, and how I don't doubt he was old because of the color of his hair, but he was fit and um, he moved just
He's
fine.
lengthy, huh?
Yeah,
Lengthy.
massive, just muscular, massive, and I just remember how his stride and how fast he was, and I
So it
just felt
just
like to
carried
me
you
that if
off.
he wanted,
uh,
what's that?
oh, I was saying he would have just carried you off like nothing,
Yeah, man. If he wanted to, he could have just taken me, yeah, for lunch, easy, no problem. But he chose to go around me. Really, is what he did, because I was downstream of him the way he was wanting to go. So he went up into the bush and around. So he gave me my space. After I chased him for a little bit, I gave him his space.
Um,
Oh man.
besides the mushrooms, what other wildlife are there? Can you imagine anything being able to live out there? Was there a
Oh,
lot of
everything was
game?
living out there, man. Everything's living up there. You have, the bears, and I'm sure you got cat, and just there's so much wildlife up there.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's very
nice.
thick and it's
Yeah,
it's a wet climate. Yeah, it rains all winter.
yeah,
I actually miss living there as well. I lived there for about a year. I was in the conservation corps,
it's
so
beautiful up
I
there. Yeah.
miss the mountains. Yeah, definitely. You couldn't get into the river, the Trinity River, they said, because you have to wait for 3 people to get taken by the river. Offering is 3 people. Then after the third one dies, then you can jump in and fish and do whatever
Oh,
you want. So I'm like,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that's freaking dark.
right. Well, you had to wait. All right, third one down, you
There's
jump in and do a cannonball, belly flop. Like what that's crazy.
One time I almost jumped in. They're like, wait, only 2. You have to wait for the third one. You can if you want to be number 3. I'm like, oh hell no. Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
pretty
fun swimming in those
uh,
rivers up there. That's yeah, that's a big part of life. We should be able to swim in the rivers anywhere we want. You
Right.
know, I
for
miss
real,
that.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't even
very,
like you
very.
swimming in the lakes anymore in Southern California.
Oh
Yeah.
geez.
It's kind of becoming like that too, like a massive like flesh eating bacteria or algae blooms and stuff like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
Going right up the
that,
nose.
that kind of sucks, man.
Oh
Especially
man.
being out there in the desert, water is such a rarity, and it's always a pretty good gift to jump in a pool or jump in a lake and just do that Nirvana baby, just sink to the bottom. Just yeah, you can't really do that out there. When you can, it's fun. So, uh,
Yeah, for sure.
so
Simeon, you're married into the Southern tribe in Southern California. What was that tribe's name again? Your tribe?
It's Kumeyaay.
come on.
Kumeyaay. They have that drawing, the pictograph of the Sasquatch, right? When he's like this with the eyes, or was that at the other tribe near you guys?
Um, that might be a neighbor tribe. I'm not familiar with that drawing.
Oh, I'll send you that one later.
But yeah,
And
we have stories down here, and we have sightings down here. Um, yeah, we've had sightings on our res. Yeah,
can
Oh
you
not
yeah,
tell
not
us some of that? Oh, go ahead there.
yeah. I was gonna say that if you don't mind, you might, or if you feel comfortable, sharing these stories.
there was I mean, I can briefly say like what's interesting to me is that probably like around 30 to 40 years ago were the what was when a lot of when he was being seen a lot around here. We have some like apple orchards and stuff like that, and he'd be seen down there picking fruit and stuff. My mother-in-law actually saw Bigfoot in the backyard, looking out her back window. We're up against a mountainside, and she looked out there, and he was right there in the backyard. Same with my, one of our cousins. The same place, that house. He was seen twice there by my mother-in-law, and then our cousin when he was like around 10. So there was like those 3 or 4 incidences that I know of, a while back. And then interestingly enough, in recent years, about 4 or 5 years ago, no, about 2 or 3 years ago now, he was just sighted again here in the area. So
Wow.
he was just seen crossing the road and going up the mountainside again here, but hasn't been seen in a long time, like over 30 or 40 years.
Hmm.
You know,
Speaking more
It's-
about it, what is your wife's tribe say about it? Say about the big guy,
um,
or
it's
better yet, what
we
is how
we
does your
we
wife? Excuse me. How does
yeah.
your wife picture, or how did your wife deal with the topic of Bigfoot? What is how did she go about that?
Um, she's never had her experience personally, but she believes, um she knows that they exist. She's had other experiences that allow her to understand that they exist.
Mhm.
And she's heard my story enough times. Yeah.
Wow, you know that.
And go ahead there.
Yeah, I always like the meeting with different group of tribes, different cultures. And it's always a beautiful thing to talk to another culture. You sit down, you ask questions, and just trade stories. And I think that's the plus, always a plus to this podcast. And tell you the truth, it makes talking right now makes up for dealing with the hot heat and working the 15-hour days out here. So
Yeah.
that's always a blessing, dude. It really is. And hearing your story and your encounters and how you deal with it, that's another plus. So thank you for coming on, dude, for real. And
Yeah, man.
it's been a while since I heard a good ghost story, but as simple as it was, it gave me chills, dude. It's I don't know what it is, but just a simple story just gives me the chills. I had one man that came on. He talked about seeing a skinwalker, and he was about to shoot it, and it and it went down in a tunnel, and then when he waited for it, and the man came out.
Wow.
When he said that, I was like, man, that's freaking that's scary, dude. It's freaking chilly. It's a
Yeah.
hot day, and I'm freaking getting the chills. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that we share these stories. We talk about
yep,
these things.
for
Yeah.
real.
Simeon, keep it on your tribe. Didn't you or each tribe has similar stories, if not different stories of the same creature. Just like for the Paiute here in St. George area where I reside right now, they say if you see a Sasquatch, that's a bad omen. That means you're gonna
Mm.
pass away soon. And especially like there's every tribe has different stories of little people. And I was wondering if you had if your tribe down that way has stories of little people.
Yeah. There's the stories of the little people here, and there's the stories of the giants, and
Oh,
um, those are stories that have kind of been passed down. The little story, the little people stories are kind of funny sometimes. Because a lot of
Right.
times the moms and aunties will tell the stories to get the kids to come home before it gets dark, or to put their toys away and stuff. Like if you don't come home, the Ipoos are going to take you away, or
Right.
the little people are going to take you away. You don't put your toys away, they're going to take your toys away. And so they are
Right.
always talked about, as if they were a part of the culture and community. Um,
mhm.
but in that way, it was kind of like a teasing or joking sort of way. And then there were stories that were more serious that were told to, I think family members and kids as they get older, more experienced type stories.
Right.
Mhm.
It's always the child, that childhood trauma really gets all these Native Americans, like that. Beware
Yeah.
if your little people are gonna get you,
Yeah.
you don't
Be good or they're
listen.
going to come get you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. In my childhood was no different. So,
Yeah. The stories we
yeah.
have of the little people is kind of like they're mischievous, they're like tricksters and,
Mm,
things like that. Are the
yeah,
stories.
yeah, yeah. They're usually
uh,
depicted like that, and sometimes it's almost comedy, comedic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
And I
Don with the
really
group.
think they do take little trinkets and stuff, and sometimes they take them, and sometimes they bring them back. you
Right,
know?
right. Well, it's almost comedic because Don and the group chat like, dang, little people stole my hot dogs. Now like, what am I gonna do? It's almost comedic like that, and it also gets to a serious point where they kind of took my ring. Took a ring,
Yeah,
and I'm just waiting for it to pop back up, and in
yeah,
the back seat or on the top of the car. And then I'm probably just gonna like, oh, like, dang, what do we do? So it's the factor of little people like that. It's hard to explain, but
You know,
stick with it.
they have even in Hawaii. I heard stories of the little people, and they
Really?
call them the Menehune over there in Hawaii. And the interesting thing about the story of the little people in Hawaii is that the Hawaiians say when they came to the islands, the little people were already there, and they're the ones who built a lot of the heiaus, the sacred uh, where they would stack all the lava stones and such, and make these like terraced areas. Supposedly,
Mm.
the little people built a lot of that stuff. It's the stories I heard.
Did you ever happen to see these areas?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're there. You can go and visit them. You know, because the heiaus were continued to be made. You know, the Hawaiians. That's where they would. You know, that's where their sacred areas were, and they would do. That's where they would go and pray and offer. You know,
Mm.
their offerings and such, and you know,
And
do a lot of their
what
spiritual activities.
speaking of the little people in the Hawaiian version of it, what are the like I said, they're almost creepy. Like what kind of creepy stuff do these little people do in the island? Big
Well,
island.
in the islands, there's
Mm.
from what I've heard, there's two varieties of little people. They're the green eyes and the
Oh,
red eyes. And the red
Green.
eyes
oh,
you don't mess with.
Yeah.
You don't want to see the
jeez.
red eyed dudes. They're the mischievous ones.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy, and
That's
it's
good
creepy.
information.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's some
I
good
would
information right there.
for sure.
Uh,
Uh,
so the green
how
ones
do
are
More friendly.
friendly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
I never really had, too much experience. With them in Hawaii, but I know people who said they've seen them.
uh, if you don't mind going in on a couple of those stories with us for the little people, these little people. Is kind of a hit and miss. They're either really good and they like watching kids play, and there's some that are really mischievous and do kind of hateful works towards
Yeah.
humanity. Do you mind giving us a couple of stories of these green and blue-eyed? What were
Well,
they called again?
the mini hoonies from Hawaii.
Mini.
Yeah, they call them mini hoonies, little
Mini
people.
hoonies.
Um, I just had a friend who had had seen them over there in the islands in Kaneohe. He told me a story about it. Seeing them on the property and just seeing them running around. Um, I never had any real experience with them except for one time hiking at night. Something kept on pulling on my backpack, and I turn around and look, and there's nothing there. So
Yeah, that's typical little people behavior right there. Right.
yeah, and I could tell it was something small because the angle it was like pulling from down, like down low on the backpack, and then pulling me down at like a 45-degree, and it was a good tug, like I'm climbing up this hill and and I'm turning around, look, nothing there. Happened 2 or 3 times, um, but I never had a bad experience or anything with them there, and that's about it. With the mini hooney experiences out there. Um,
Wow.
I I I think to me one of the most amazing stories I've heard a buddy of mine told me, which happened here in Southern California, and he said him and his friends got chased away from a bunch of little people. They got chased out of the valley, and that
Really.
that was that was a good story right there.
Could you
Oh,
tell us that one?
yeah, yeah. Go for it, man.
This is when the boys were all younger, they were all teenagers, and they drove down to the valley below the old village, and they were down there horsing around, and there after night, it was kind of getting dark and all, and uh it was time to get home, and they're all loading up in the back of this little pickup truck, and all of a sudden in the bushes out come these little people. And I'm like,
Oh,
nah, you're joking me. He's like, yeah, no, these little people came out. He's like, the thing that was strange though? He's like, they look just like us, but they were smaller. He's like, and they were all dressed in traditional attire, and they had bow and arrows and they had spears,
Yep.
and they're wearing deer skin and everything, and I'm like, nah, you're messing with me, you're pulling my legs. Like, no, I'm serious. And say they started chasing them, and so they all jumped in the back of the truck, and they were literally like shooting the bow and arrows and throwing the spears at him. He said, and they got back up to the top of the res, and they were all just couldn't believe what happened. He says they looked on the bumper, and there was the spear was stuck in the bumper, and they took it out, and they had it that night, and they were all looking at it and playing with it and showing each other and showing other people, and they put it in this box. Woke up the next morning, it was gone.
Oh my gosh!
That
Ooh-wee.
So they actually
that's
had that artifact there for a minute.
right.
Wow.
That's a great A. Little person.
Yeah.
If you ever listen to the show before, we constantly bring this topic up because it's almost a staple for Native American living. Everyone has a little person stories, and they have names for them. Also,
Yeah.
these Bigfoot, everybody has a story. Everybody has a name for these Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
We call them Yaito on our side, but only during the winter. So it's he plays a part in the culture, the Native American culture, and which is really unique. It's really unique.
It is,
But,
and I think that's why these experiences still happen on reservations, is because we're still open to it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that story remind me of my brother-in-laws. They were hiking up Navajo Mountain, and they looked up on the ridge before they're making their way up the mountain, and they seen like about a group of little people standing right on top, staring down at them. They had their bow and arrows drawn, and they're looking like they're about to chuck their spear at them. And they
Right.
said they dressed in buckskin, same thing,
Right.
traditional.
Right.
Yep, and then the brother-in-law told me he was in front, and then he said, "Hey," he was trying to call his other brother to look, and then all his brothers said behind him was, "Nope, I'm out." And he took off, and he said he looked back, and he was already hauling ass down the mountain. And he said he looked up, and those guys were staring at him. They said they were about to shoot the bow and arrow at him. And he turned
Yeah.
around and started running. They hauled ass off that mountain. So in Navajo or Monument Valley too, same thing. They're dressed in traditional, and then there's another one that has that little beanie, the gnome looking ones too. They're around as well.
Huh.
So there's so much that we have yet to learn and understand about this world. We share it
Right.
with multiple creatures, that's for sure.
I
Multiple
believe we do.
beings.
I believe we do.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's
Okay.
also
And all that. Go ahead, there.
it's also the height variant too. Some of them are like about a foot tall. Too. Uh, they had one that was told to me though. They said it was about maybe 3 foot tall, little person.
Yeah.
And what he was saying was, I don't know if you ever seen that video ugly film, the Cannibal Holocaust. It's
Mm.
yeah. If you would look it up, you'll see the Brazilian tribes out there. He said it looked just like that. They had really bushy hair, and they're he's covered. Just had a loincloth on, and was walking with a spear. And that it kind of varies with different tribes. Even out there in my neighbor tribe out there in Zuni, they talk about little people too having villages inside in the ground that
Right.
our guest talked about too coming across. So
Yeah.
whatever they are, they're there. That's the best way I could put it, and they're part of the environment. And at the end of the day, I think they should all be respected. Even Bigfoot.
Right.
So
And I think that kind of leads right into my feeling about it, is that we've had relations before with these creatures, a lot of these creatures, the Bigfoots and the giants and the little people. And I think that memory has been erased, or they've attempted to erase that memory from a lot of our, of our different areas. They've tried to rewrite the history.
Yeah.
Yes,
and we've almost got a cultural amnesia, about these things. So appreciate you guys, talking about it, because I know, like, even here, it's the old guys, the old folks, the elders don't like to talk about these things as much. It was more taboo, and
Hmm.
but it's, I think it's important to bridge that gap between nature and supernatural, and and even nature and ourselves.
right. Yeah.
Western thought tries to put us outside of nature. Why is that? Why they try to disconnect us from nature? So we don't have these
Real.
experiences and these awakenings and these understandings. You know, I
You
think
know
that could be a part of it.
that I applaud that too, man. I totally agree
Mhm.
with you, and that's one thing we try to do with we actually we're going to do with this podcast is take back the stories and take back or the culture,
That's
and
amazing.
uh,
That's great.
yes, sir. And I'm truly happy to be part of it, you know, uh,
Mhm.
and for the radio station out there too, for giving us a good platform, and
Mhm.
not just to have people, you know, understand or background of what we're going through on a daily basis on the reservation, but also meeting you know a gentleman like you that has all these stories, and you're married into the culture, which is good, as life, that's how life happens, and that's how life will continue, you know
Yeah.
marriage and to, uh, mingling of blood, and you get to understand the culture and be part of it, even the whole nature side too.
Right.
That's something I really want to fight for is you know bring back the human and nature side, not the human and the pavement and the grocery store listings, and you know uh
Right.
and
Exactly.
thank you, yeah, thank you for coming on, and I
Well, I
learned a couple of
appreciate.
new words off talking with you, and I'm gonna look it up. Probably won't be able to spell it out, but technology, I'll use the little
Voice
mic on there.
command.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll look it up,
Yeah.
and uh, I'll look it up, man, for real, and I'll play some of these songs out there, and we're
I'd be
actually
interested to hear how that
yeah
goes.
we're actually
Oh, for real.
doing a
In these haunted canyons.
yeah
We'll see
yeah
what happens.
we're actually doing
Go ahead.
putting a documentary together, and we shot one part, but we're definitely going back for, man, it could be a part two, part three, part four, or do a whole little docu series about the whole area out here. But that's a great idea that you gave us right there, and I'm gonna do it.
Easy.
For real. I'm really
Hey,
I'm really excited.
yeah, you got get a fire going and get some music going. Maybe burn some cedar or sage, and you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
Oh,
invite
for
them in,
sure.
invite them in.
right.
Say, hey,
Sounds like a
I want
plan.
to talk.
E,
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
relate.
Yeah.
you know,
Kumbaya together right here.
yeah.
uh,
Even
Oh,
saying that,
for
I
real.
might even look up like old. I hate to do this, but like old cavalry marching songs, and
Jeez.
see what that would
Trumpet.
do. Yeah, it might. Oh man, I might piss off like a great
Hey,
grandfather.
gonna try it.
It's
Gonna try
yeah,
it.
get kicked in the butt by my
well,
great grandmother. Who knows? But uh, that's a great idea, and that's something I want to do. So
Mhm.
uh,
yeah,
thanks again for that.
Yeah, yeah, Simeon, appreciate you coming on, man. Darren and
well,
I, every second that we had you on here, we appreciate it, and especially the knowledge that you dropped on us, and a different way of thinking, and maybe some new methods that we're gonna try. And I have a feeling it's gonna be great. Just hit the drums and send out good vibes. That's the only thing we can do is play the
yeah.
drums.
Or sing some of your songs. You guys have
Yeah,
your songs. And sing your songs or play some of those songs. And yeah,
yeah,
I
cool,
imagine you have some good results, especially with your intentions. You know,
right?
For real.
Yeah,
Mm.
we just might turn into Lord of the Flies and just dance around with the chonies around the fire or something. Who knows, dude?
As long as you're having fun, man.
Right.
Hey.
That's all that's part.
We're gonna be holding hands with the fox and coyote, dancing naked with them around the fire. But as long as we don't transform into owl, I mean, we won't go that far. but Simeon, my brother,
All
welcome
right.
to the family. You are officially part of the Don't Whistle at Night family. I'll send you the link to this show as soon as it's available. From me and Darren, I'd like to say thank you again and for your time. It's spent here and it's spent well, and we appreciate that. Darren, you want to say anything?
Oh yeah, actually, I unknowingly brought two friends, long time friends, together, and the last time they said they seen each other was the junior year at high school, and they're pretty up there in age now, and it's unique. It's a blessing to have friends, in this life, and that's one thing that we should do more is make friends, make best friends, be a best friend, be there for one another, and it's an even greater gift to come across them again and seeing them after so many years. And I had the same thing happen to me out there in Gallup. I haven't seen this man for maybe 15 years, and I walked into a store and he was right there, like, holy shit, bro, like, I haven't seen you for freaking years, man. I swear if I could pick him up and spin him around, I would have picked him up and spun him around for sure, like, man, like, yeah, it's joy. It's joyous, it's one thing to say you're, alone in this world, and that's sad. And, it's heartbreaking to say that, but, find help, find a friend, find friends, make friends. You got your friends right here, if you have any ideas later on, hit us up and we'll try it out there. And, you have your friends right here at the radio station, the UPRN. So, thank you for listening and, being part of the family. And if you have ideas, we'll trade them, we'll trade ideas. And I like your background, bro, for real.
I apologize. All done now.
No, I love it. Yeah, got to see the sunset right there. Seen a little, what is the cat's name? Cosmic?
Yeah, Cosmo. Yeah,
Cosmo, man. That's a real nice. That's a real nice cat name. I like that.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Simeon, is there anything you'd like any last shout outs before we close the show tonight?
Just appreciate you guys having me on here, and I'm just grateful to share these stories, and of course I'm grateful for my wife and my family here and our community, and all the experience I've had these years with them and our shared life together. And I really like what you said that about friends. That's what it's about. It's about these relationships we make along the way, and I'm grateful and appreciative to have the experiences I've had and live the life I've had and be together with my wife for almost 30 years now. It's been an amazing journey. So trying new things outside my comfort zone like this, and meeting you guys, it's been good. It's been really good. Appreciate it. That's about it.
Yeah.
Simeon, thank you.
It really has. I learned a lot. And the world gets to see you and see your smile, your laughter. So that's a big plus for everybody out there. And hit us up if you have stories or have ideas. We'll trade it. That's the best thing we can do. And you have your friends out here. Or better yet, you have your family out here, dude. For real. So, yeah.
Heck yeah. If I go to California, I'll hit you up, Simeon. And likewise, if you come out to the Four Corners, hit Darren and I up. We'll take you to some good places and see where you can drum up.
That'd be fun. I'll make some music.
Most definitely. Most definitely, brother. All right, guys.
Well, you have a good night.
Looks like
Oh
you
yeah.
as well. Thank you. Thank
No,
you
thank
for
you.
coming. All right, I'm going to close the show right here, guys. Okay, so thank you for tuning into Don't Whistle at Night. We have been broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans. From Simeon and Darren and I, thank you guys for joining us. You guys stay safe and stay beautiful, beautifully weird, that is. And make sure you guys all don't whistle at night. You guys all have a great night. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night podcast, where Navajo legends echo in the shadows. Darren and Dawn will guide you through the sacred fire of native storytelling, where the old stories breathe, the unknown walks among us, and voices, long hidden, rise to be heard. And remember, don't whistle at night.